If you're someone at home that's looking to age their wine, they don't necessarily have all the gadgets and all the bells and whistles that would be the ideal storage. What do you think someone could do at home to achieve those conditions, and what are those conditions?
You know, the first thing I would say is like make sure you like mature wines. So that's quite an interesting thing that I think hopefully this gets to some young people as well. It's really try and find wine friends, people that have collected too much wines in their lives, but just stick your nose in some older wines now and again. It's crucial because there is an acclimatization. It's learning to enjoy olives if you don't like olives, or to enjoy something that's quite, you know, funky and more sophisticated. Find out whether you like mature wines. And I think there's a big difference between mature red wines and mature white wines. So red wines, if you want to keep them, I think Cabernet Sauvignon, a good rule of thumb is 5 to 10 years is a good time. Five years to start interacting with it. They should go 20 years plus. For your home cellar, ideal. There are three things that are crucial to wine maturation. Constant temperature, no sunlight, no direct light, and kind of vibration free. And obviously you want an area with a kind of 70% humidity. None of those are deal breakers if you drink your wine quite quickly. So if you have mature wines at home and drink them within a 2-3 year period, constant temperature is probably the only one that's really important. Direct sunlight, obviously, as well. Temperature is an interesting one because anything below 18 degrees is a safe space to keep your wine. You know, nothing's going to happen to it. The theory is, though, that between 12 and 18, the lower you go, the slower the wine evolves. We all know the greatest bottles of wine you can ever have is the wine that was in this vat over here, went straight into the bottle, was parked down there, and it didn't move, and that temperature was constant. It didn't see any sunlight, didn't move. That bottle's always going to beat any bottle that went into a case, got onto a cool truck, got delivered to your house, and then goes into storage. So standing still in one place, as cool as possible, a constant, that is your win. And as long as you can do that at home as much as you can, it's fine. Wine is also much more robust than we think. A great bottle of wine can take quite a hammering. It's really quite interesting. I've had some bottles of wine where the ullage, so that's the part between the neck and the top where it's dropped down quite a bit. The kind of wine where you think, it's finished. Cork's leaking, etc. Where you touch it and the cork drops in and the wine is amazing. And then I've had wines where it's pristine, absolutely 100%. There's from the same wine, same vintage, you know, so they're next to each other, where that bottle is not as good as that terrible one. So there's this old saying that, you know, if you buy 12 bottles of wine, the longer they mature them, the more you get to the end, you get to a point where there's no such thing as a great wine, there's just a great bottle. So wine, we must remember, is also an individual product in a moment in time. It sits in a bottle with a cork in it, which is another kind of natural product which influences, and that bottle of wine can be better than any of the other bottles of wine that was made from that estate. You know, so a bottle of wine is also a special thing and contributes to a bit of history and a story.
I can tell that you're a romantic about wine.
Yes, you have to be. Wine comes with a story.
Oh, of course, yeah. So, in your opinion, in your expertise and your experience with wine, how do you determine how long a particular vintage or a particular wine, how long can you age it for? How long until you know that wine's going to get to its peak?
I think that's a bit of a guesstimate, and that's part of the world of experience, and there's no rules of thumb. Generally, you look at the acidity of wine, tannin structure of the wine, and intensity of fruit. And you're looking at the trilogy of that balance. The more balanced the wine is, the more you expect it to mature harmoniously. The denser the tannin, or the quality of the tannin, the more you expect that it has got longevity in it. The higher the acidity, the longer you think it expect it to last. And obviously sugar plays a big role. The longest living wines, obviously, let's not forget, wines with massive amount of sugar. So let's stick to Cabernet Sauvignon because it becomes very complicated if we look at everything else. But Cabernet Sauvignon as a grape variety is a small berry. Juice to tannin ratio is quite little. Every grape variety has got a different kind of tannin structure and a different tannin personality, if it's a great and special wine. And Cabernet Sauvignon has got a distinct structure. I like to call it the railway structure. You know, it lays down the tracks and it tells you where it's going to go. What would be a different kind of tannin structure would be something like Nebbiolo, which is a grape variety from northern Italy, where it's got the tannins are much more on the side. They're very drying, but they kind of like pull your mouth in different directions. Grenache's tannin structure is again on the outside, but quite soft, but brownish, kind of autumnish, and they lie long in the side of your mouth. So each of those grape varieties have different tannin structure. Cabernet Sauvignon, railroad, it needs a certain amount of time just for those kind of elements to break down a little bit, to soften the wine. South Africa, normal vintage, 5 to 8 years. Great vintages, 10 years plus. And then what happens is you get to taste the wines now and again and go like, well, that's a great vintage for this producer specifically. And then it becomes a great bottle of wine. And a great bottle of wine, then every now and again you're lucky to have it and you can go like, well, this one is still on the up. So you can add another 3-4 years. So when you would taste a wine, like let's say we take the Waterford 2015 that I have in my hand. This wine is just entering its drinking window. I'm happy it's easily got to its 10-year space. It's got nice earth, the density is there. And what happens with the Cabernet Sauvignon as it matures, that, you know, that kind of tannin breaks down and kind of fills your mouth. It kind of builds a little belly at the bottom. And you want that texture, it's almost like salt sand. You know, it's like it gives it more weight. But on top of that are flavors and complexity and layers, and at the same time there's a freshness of acidity. The acidity is not harsh, the flavors are complex and intriguing, the aromatics kind of intrigue you and pull you in, but then it settles in your mouth with that savory moorishness. And remember, moorishness is such an overused or easy word, but moorishness, at the end of the day, this is a beverage and something that wants to refresh you. And if you get that sense of moorish and you want to have more and more, it means the wine has got an upside to it. It means it's still going further. And this wine has got an upside. There's no tiring lag, it doesn't stick in your mouth. So this I would think would easily reach 20 years. It could change quite a bit in the last 3 to 4 years, but yeah.